Tight end university.
Tight end university. Tight end university.
Tight end U.
You on three. 1, 2, 3. See.
From Mark Andrews to rookie sensation Sam Laporta, tight ends across the league have sprung up like wildfire, especially with the NFL becoming a more pass-oriented league. Guys like George Kittle, Travis Kelce, and Greg Olsen have also helped the position gain prominence, with their annual Tight End U Summit in Nashville, Tennessee, as well as the creation of National Tight End Day that's celebrated during the season. But with all these awesome tight ends, we gotta answer the real question here. Who really is Tight End U? Now I've got 5 schools in mind that I think are solid candidates for Tight End U, including the University of Miami, Iowa, Notre Dame, Stanford, and Florida. So let's start with the University of Miami. They've had 22 tight ends drafted all time from their school, including notable guys like Jeremy Shockey, who went 14th overall in 2002. He had a 10-year career with the Giants, Saints, and Panthers, and was a 4-time Pro Bowler and 1-time All-Pro selection. Along with that, he was a 2-time Super Bowl champ for the Giants and Saints, and over the course of his career, racked up 547 receptions, 6,143 yards, and 37 touchdowns. Then you got Greg Olsen, the longtime Panthers tight end who went 31st overall to the Bears, and had a 14-year career with Chicago, Carolina, and Seattle. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler and 2-time second-team All-Pro selection. And over the course of his career, he had 742 receptions, 8,683 yards, and 60 total touchdowns. And lastly, you got Jimmy Graham, the Saints legend who bullied defenses during his prime. He had a 13-year career with the Saints, Seahawks, Packers, and Bears, and was a 5-time Pro Bowler, along with 1 first-team and 1 second-team All-Pro selection. During his time in the league, he had 719 receptions, 8,545 yards, and 89 tuds. In terms of the active players they have in the league, they currently have 3, including David Njoku for the Browns, who was a Pro Bowler this past season. Going 29th overall in 2017, he's been a pretty solid tight end, I'd say, for the Browns, and has 287 receptions, 3,264 yards, and 25 tuds to his name so far. Then you've got guys like Brevin Jordan for the Texans, and 5th rounder Will Mallory for the Colts, who got drafted 2 years ago. Moving on to the University of Iowa, they've had 17 guys drafted all time, including notable guys like Dallas Clark, who was a reliable target alongside Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison for Peyton Manning during the early 2000s. He was drafted 24th overall in 2003, and enjoyed an 11-year career with the Indianapolis Colts, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Baltimore Ravens. He was a 1-time Pro Bowl and All-Pro selection, and got 1 Super Bowl win with the Colts. Over the course of his storied career, he tallied up 505 receptions, 5,665 yards, and 53 touchdowns. Now they had a huge gap where they didn't really have any major contributors in the league until 2016, where things really popped off, starting with George Kittle. Now obviously, he's one of the best tight ends right now, and in my opinion, the most complete one in terms of both blocking and receiving. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler and 2-time first-team All-Pro selection, and has 460 receptions, 6,274 yards, and 37 touchdowns entering year 8 of his career. Next up, we got TJ Hawkinson, as well as Noah Fant, who went 8th and 20th overall in 2019 respectively. Hawkins is going into his 6th season and has 2 Pro Bowls under his belt, and is coming off back-to-back 900-yard seasons. So far, he has 341 receptions, 3,547 yards, and 23 touchdowns. He probably would have gone 1,000 yards this year if Kirby Joseph didn't absolutely murder his knee. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. And next up, we got Noah Fant. He's had a solid career so far with both the Broncos and Seahawks, and has 252 receptions on 2,805 yards, along with 14 touchdowns. He hasn't necessarily reached that elite threshold Hawkinson and Kittle have reached, but yeah, he's still pretty solid. Then you got Sam Laporta, who's essentially a TJ Hawkinson replacement. The second-round phenom is already a Pro Bowler, and it's looking like a foundational piece on this new-look Lions offense. In terms of the future of the position at Iowa, it looks like Luke Lackley is going to continue carrying the torch for the Hawkeyes, as he's projected to go pretty early in next year's draft. Moving on to Notre Dame, they have by far the most amount of players drafted from their school, with 34 so far, including Dave Casper, the legendary Hall of Fame tight end for the Raiders, who played 13 years in the league with the Raiders, Oilers, and Vikings. He was a 5-time Pro Bowler and 4-time All-Pro selection, and won 2 Super Bowls with the Raiders. He was definitely ahead of his time as he had 378 receptions, 5,216 yards, and 52 touchdowns over the course of his career. Then you got Kyle Rudolph, the 2-time Pro Bowler, who had a 12-year career primarily with the Vikings, along with the Giants and Buccaneers. He had 482 receptions, 4,773 yards, 50 touchdowns. Then you got Tyler Eifert, who was a first-round pick in 2013, and he spent 8 years in the league with Cincinnati and Jacksonville. He's a pretty solid tight end, but injuries really derailed his career. As for the number of active players Notre Dame has, they've got 5 so far in the league, including Michael Mayer, the second-round pick from last year. I think he'll have a pretty promising career, especially with the addition of Brock Bowers, meaning that the Raiders are going to be running a lot of 12 personnel. He's a really good blocker and a viable pass catching option. You've also got Cole Kmet from the Bears. He's been pretty decent so far, but he's not at that elite threshold yet. He did get a second contract with the Bears, so he'll probably be a foundational piece for Caleb Williams going forward. You also got Tommy Tremble on the Panthers. He was a former third rounder in 2021, and he's been pretty meh so far, likely because he's on the Panthers. But yeah, going into year 4, hopefully he'll be better with Dave Canales at the helm. Then you got Durham Smythe, who's a 4th rounder back in 2018. He spent all 6 years for Miami so far, and has largely been a backup tight end. And lastly, you got Brock Wright. He's the backup for Sam Laporte on the Lions and is extremely underrated in terms of both blocking and receiving skills. Next up, we got Stanford. They've had 16 guys drafted so far into the league, including guys like Kobe Fleener, who was drafted with Andrew Luck in 2012, and had solid numbers on the Colts. He only had a 6-year career with the Colts and Saints, but racked up 255 receptions, 3,080 yards, and 22 touchdowns. As for their active guys in the league, they've got Zach Ertz, a 2nd round pick in 2013. He's now entering year 12 and has played for the Eagles, Cardinals, and now the Commies. He's a 3-time Pro Bowl selection and a 1-time Super Bowl champ. Over the course of his career, he's had 709 receptions, 7,434 yards, and 46 touchdowns. He's been pretty injury prone as of late, but hopefully reuniting with Cliff Kingsbury in Washington will give him a late career resurgence. Then you got Austin Hooper, who's a 2-time Pro Bowler with the Falcons, and was a 3rd round pick in 2016. He's now entering year 9 of his career, and has played for the Falcons, Browns, Titans, Raiders, and now Patriots. Then you got Dalton Schultz, a 4th rounder in 2018, who's played for the Cowboys and now Texans. He's now heading to year 7 and will be a focal point on this new era of Texans football. He honestly should be due for a Pro Bowl selection because he's honestly way better than people give him credit for. Then you got Kobe Parkinson, the massive 6'8" tight end for the Seahawks and now Rams, who's entering year 5 of his career. He's been used more as a blocker, but definitely is a viable pass catcher, which I could see him being used in McVay's offense, given that Tyler Higbee is still recovering from his ACL injury and just got placed on the PUP list. And lastly, you got Elijah Higgins on the Cardinals. He was drafted by the Dolphins last year in like the 6th or 7th round, but he got released before the season even started. He was technically drafted as a wide receiver, but he switched to tight end, so I guess he's like an honorary member of the tight end group, but yeah. Then we have Florida. They've had 12 tight ends drafted into the league, including guys like Aaron Hernandez and Jordan Reed, and currently have 1 active player in Kyle Pitts. Regardless of what he did off the field, Aaron Hernandez was a ridiculous tight end during his 3-year stretch in the league. A 4th round pick in 2010, he alongside Gronkowski were like the focal point of the Patriots offense during that time. You also had Jordan Reed, who most people probably forgot, but he was a 3rd round pick in 2013 and had a 7-year career with the Commanders and Niners. He made 1 Pro Bowl back in 2016 after coming off a 952-yard receiving season. He's a wildly talented tight end, but just couldn't stay healthy, and never really produced much in the NFL due to that. As for their active player, they've got Kyle Pitts, the highest drafted tight end of all time, after being selected 4th overall by the Falcons in 2021. He immediately made the Pro Bowl after notching 1,000 yards on the season with Matt Ryan, and became only the 2nd tight end ever, alongside Mike Ditka from the Bears, to reach that mark. He had a couple of down seasons since then due to poor quarterback play from Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder, but you could also place some of that blame on Arthur Smith, I guess, since he just doesn't like using his shiny new toys, and would rather use guys like Jonnu Smith. But hey, he's gone now, and with Kirk Cousins in town, maybe he'll return to form. Now to answer the question of who tight end you really is, I think that title has to go to Iowa. Sure, there may be some recency bias here, given the amount of high quality guys they've produced in the last couple of years, but I think that guys like Hawkinson, Laporta, and Kittle are in perfect situations that allow them to produce at an elite level, whereas other guys like Njoku, who may be as talented, but if not even more talented than they are, won't produce as well due to the type of offense they're in. I also think that in terms of all the current active players, they've got the best shot to produce a Hall of Fame tight end in the form of George Kittle, so that's definitely a huge bump. But yeah, let me know down in the comments who you guys think tight end you is. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, like and subscribe down below. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching the video.